right, fellas. Looks like Craig just started recording, so we are. Everybody, thanks for stopping by. For those of you that don't know, this is Joma. He's a founder of a project called BiggerMINDS that a lot of us were excited about. Um, and he's here to tell his story about what happened to his project and kind of lessons that can be learned and the possible rebirth of the project. So this is going to be a little bit different than what we normally do. I know Scott has some good questions written down, but for a while, I'm just going to turn it over to Joma, and I want him to just tell us who he is, how he came up with the project, and then I just want him to tell us his story. We can just listen. And Scott, if it gets to a good point, just throw your questions in there as they're relevant, and maybe we'll redirect. But I feel like this is just such an interesting time for us all to listen to. We get to be on the outside of a lot of rug pulls, and a lot of times we get to be a participant in them when somebody takes our bag or whatever. This is a really interesting opportunity to basically learn from someone who had close interaction with the devs that rugged his own project. So with that, I'd love to turn it over to Joma. Just introduce yourselves to the people, man, and start telling your story. Tell us what happened.
Sure. Thank you, John. Hello, everyone. I'm Joma. I'm the founder of BiggerMINDS. So I started BiggerMINDS back in June 2021. Initially, it was just writing ideas down on my iPad pretty much. Just about everything, right? It wasn't specific to nodes. It was just about everything, things that I wanted to do in the future with crypto and stuff. So I did my LLC. That's how I registered in Wyoming. Um, and then from there, I just kept writing ideas down and stuff like that. And then as time went by, once I got towards the December timeframe, I started looking for developers. So honestly, at the beginning, I didn't know where to look. And, I started asking questions, joining different Discords. I joined the Avalanche Developers Discord. I even try, just reading myself and trying to do everything myself, but I'm like, no, this is too much time consuming, right? So I joined the Avalanche developers Discord, and they have a section where you kind of just put, hey, looking for developers kind of thing. So I did that, right? I put, hey, I'm trying to do this concept, looking for this type of developer, these skills and stuff like that.
And if you don't mind my asking,
Mhm.
sorry to cut in real
Good.
quick, what is your background? Like, how much experience do you have, with software? What's your background?
So I did, a long time ago, I did 2 years of college in computer science back home in Puerto Rico. And then I stopped. I joined the military, went to the military. I've been in 9 years. And then now I'm doing my bachelor's in cybersecurity. I don't really do the coding myself, but I do understand it, right? So I can talk it with people. I understand it. All the ideas about the projects, the code, how I want everything to work, I write it myself in words, right? And then I just gave it to the developers so they can turn it into smart contracts. So everything we do at Bigger Minds, it's all like from my ideas, right? Like the developers don't tell me. The only thing they do is pretty much, they write it on the code and they'll tell me ways on how we can do it and, just be gas efficient and things like that, more technical stuff. But everything comes from me. But I don't do none of the coding.
So basically, you were the designer of the project, the founder, and you were looking for devs to help you write your ideas into code.
Correct. That is
All
correct.
right. Yeah,
Yes.
go ahead. So you joined the Avalanche, dev group or whatever. What happened
Correct.
next?
So they have this Discord channel, pretty much is like searching for jobs kind of thing. So I put there, I was looking for developers, their skills and all that stuff. And one of them reached out. I don't know if you guys wanted me to say name or not, but for now, I'll just keep it private. Um, so he reached out. This was in December. And, we started talking back and forth. He asked me what I wanted. I told him what kind of project I wanted. We scheduled a video call. We did a video call. We met. We talked for like an hour and a half or two, just talking project. It seemed like a normal dude, super simple. And we started working together. Basically, we started developing in December. Everything that we did, I paid out of pocket. As he finished the job, I paid. And towards mid January, late January or so, we're still developing this thing. he hires, I kind of gave him the role to like look for help because we needed help. We were slow, right? So we needed more help. So he hires someone. Um, his name is Iceberg. He's the one, responsible for everything. He hired Iceberg, and I didn't give him access to anything, right? So because I have control of all the accounts and everything, so I did not provide him access for like 2 weeks or so.
Now,
And
let
I
me
got
stop you again real quick here because
go
I
ahead.
think this will be important. So the dev that you're not naming, do you know who this guy is? Do you know his real identity?
So I did meet him in video. I don't know if his name is real.
Sure. I guess that's what I'm asking. Like,
Yeah.
did you KYC the dev at all?
So that's another point. When that's more like towards the launch of the project. So when I told him to KYC, that's when everything happened.
Ah, okay. All right, perfect.
Yeah,
So go ahead with your story. At this point, you don't know. I mean, you've met one of the devs on video chat and the
correct.
new one, what's his name? Eisenberg or something?
Iceberg. Yeah,
Iceberg.
iceberg.
Okay. And you don't have a KYC on either of these guys. You don't give the second guy access at all. Go ahead with your
No.
story.
Yep. So I did not provide access for about 2 weeks or so. And then we started talking, and there was a lot of red flags, right, that I missed. I was so focused on the project that there was a lot of red flags that I missed. Now, when I go back and think of things, so when I tell this guy to meet with me, I'm telling, hey, let's meet tomorrow in a video call, and just introduce yourself, just get your story, kind of thing. The other developer tells me, hey, don't worry, I'll take care of it. And, at the moment, I was so busy with other things that I was like, okay, sure, he's been working with me since December. We talk every day, everything's fine. So I pretty much, trusted in him pretty much. So next day, he messages me and he's like, hey, I interview Iceberg. He's good. Like, he has skills. He's good. He's legit. And I was like, okay, cool, so I can give him access. And he was like, yeah, sure, just give him the access. So, I give him access to our repo. I give him access to our company's accounts, pretty much Gmail access, Monday.com, all those things, right? So we start working together, all three of us, and everything's going well. They're working every hour with me. We worked hours, like I'm talking, more than 24 hours, getting the website ready, getting the smart contracts ready, testing, doing everything, right? Making sure everything was adjusted, pretty much everything, always communicating. Towards the launch day, things started to get weird. But again, I know this now, right? I didn't think of it at the moment. Towards the launch day, the main developer started to like not answering as much. He started to like kind of like cut communications, a lot of excuses, and the only person there was the new developer, Iceberg. Um, so we talked, and he was helping me with the front end stuff, and he was giving me advices pretty much about the smart contract. He was like studying the smart contract, and he kept asking questions and questions and questions. And at the moment, I was like, oh, he's just learning because he just want to learn. He didn't have access to the smart contract.
So what kind of
So,
questions are we talking about?
well, pretty much how the node system worked. He wanted to know, like, what are these accounts for? Why is there like 5 different accounts and everything's getting distributed to different accounts? What are these fees? What's the mechanics of things? Who had access to the contract?
So you're
And
pretty
things
sure by
like that.
this point he was kind of feeling you out.
Correct, correct. I mean, now that I think of it, right? So, like I said, a lot of red flags that were coming in.
Yeah, sure.
So the main developer, he was kind of absent, and we're getting towards. I told him, hey guys, I want to launch between Saturday night and Sunday morning. This was on February 12th, right? And they both disappeared once. And I was like, what the hell, right? Like, where are these guys at? So I can do nothing without them because I don't have no one else. So I started messaging both. I'm like, hey, where you guys at? Are we gonna do this? They both magically appear super late at night. It was like 1 a.m.
And
And
what stage of completion would you say the project is at this point? Like, how close are you to being done at the project at
to
this
come
time?
back,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or you mean over
No, no,
there?
no, not to come back. I mean, at this point that these devs just ghost you,
In your
right?
story.
In your
Oh
store.
no, so it was done. All we needed to do was just launch, pretty much. That was it.
So really
I was
everything was already done and all you needed to do was launch and
correct.
it would have been a go. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So I was in the process literally of setting up the liquidity pool, but I didn't do it because I was waiting on them to confirm that they're just in case, something happens in the website, they can fix it and things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I was holding back and I kept messaging them and they both appeared. They're like, hey, we're here. And I'm like, okay, cool. Can we do this thing? And they're like, yes, everything's good. We can do it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. So I set up the liquidity pool. Everything went well, and people started coming in like out of nowhere. I didn't do any tweets. I didn't do any socials. I didn't do anything. It was pretty much stealth launch, and people start coming in, and all these issues arise, right? Just like every new project that launches, website not working, this button not working, rewards not working. So we stay up all night. That day we stayed up all night and we fixed everything. We literally fixed everything. All the bugs that people were pointing out, they listed on the Discord. We fixed, like we went through all the hard work. And we're like, okay, we can get some sleep. So we went to bed, come back next day. There's problems with the rewards. So users are not getting the rewards. Iceberg, I tell them, hey, can you check the smart contract as to why users are not getting rewards? What's going on? So he goes in, from Snow Trace, just pretty much reading the contract, see how it works and all that stuff. And he checks the transactions and he tells me, hey, we're reaching our gas limit. And I was like, how is that possible? We don't even have a lot of users yet. Why is this happening? And, they explained the process as to why, right? We had the gas limit. I don't remember at the time, but it was reaching the cap. So basically the deeper your node was on the list, the less rewards you were getting. So if you created your node first, you will get your rewards, right? So like, let's say, for example, 1 through 10, all those people got their rewards, but 11 to 20 didn't. They just got partial. So he comes up with this idea. He's like, hey, we can fix it. We can create a auto script, to do the rewards. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. How would it work? So he explained it. He just does the script. We just attach it to a dummy wallet, and that wallet, that's how it feeds, and everyone gets the rewards. So he started working on that. And at the same time, he started working on the airdrop for the users for their missed rewards. So this is the famous airdrop that pretty much did everything, right? So he's like, I can create an airdrop, have it back to you like in an hour or less. He creates an airdrop and he tells me, hey, the airdrop needs a wallet to feed off. So at the moment, everything's going, we're just kind of like analyzing everything. And the main developer tells me, hey, Joma, just give him the wallet where the mine is at, pretty much like the treasury, right? So you can do the airdrop. But I didn't give him like private keys or anything, right? So I didn't like send anything through text or anything. And I asked him, how would the airdrop work? And he's like, well, I'm going to send you this. You're going to go to this website and you're just going to sign transactions until, it's done. It's going to stop automatically. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's easy. So we did it. Users got their rewards. Everything's going great, right? So that was the same night. The main developer tells me I have to go on a trip. And I'm like, when, dude? Like we just launched. You can't just leave, like you can't do this now. He's like, no, but everything's running good, so I have to go on a trip. And I'm like, how long? He said 2 days. I'm like, okay. I'm like, sure. He's been working with me since December, so like everything. I'm like, okay, sure, fine. And I asked him, can Iceberg handle the load? Like, can he take care of things while you're gone? And he's like, yes, I'll check the smart contract. I'll make sure everything's good. And you can stay with Iceberg. He could take care of the front end things. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm fine with that. So everything's going well. Finally, the project is stable. The auto reward script is working. The airdrop worked, right? 2 days go by. The developer Iceberg started asking me when I was going to do marketing. And again, I didn't catch this, at the moment, but it's kind of odd, a developer asking me when I'm going to do marketing to bring more users. Usually they don't care about that, right? They're just developing things. He kept asking, hey, we're going to do marketing. When are we going to do marketing? And he kept always mentioning the balance of our liquidity pool. Oh, we're at this, we're at that. Oh, we just passed this market cap. Oh, we got this top amount of holders. Like he was too paying too much attention to things that I really didn't ask for him to do, like ever. All I asked him to do was, Jay, just make sure website's running good and the bugs are fixed. So I told him, oh yeah, we're gonna do it next day. So, the following day so main developer is already traveling. He's gone. I'm just with Iceberg. 2 days go by. So on the third day, I was gonna do marketing. That's when I went on socials. I went on Twitter for the first time. So I started putting tweets, I put our audit, I put this, I put that. I think I did my marketing at 11 a.m. CST. And then like 3 hours later, it was 3 or 4 hours later, between 2 p.m. CST and 3 p.m. CST, a community member, I think he's actually here, Chris50, I believe. Yeah, Chris50, sends me a private message. And he's like, hey, dude, why are you selling? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not selling. I'm not doing anything. I'm here. I'm watching everything. And it's like, nah, man, this transaction looks weird. It's from your wallet. I'm like, what do you mean? That's impossible. That's impossible. So I believe the first transaction was for like 3,400 mine tokens. And he's like, man, look at this. Like, it's a wallet that you used to send tokens of 3 days ago. And when I looked, I started getting like paranoid at the moment. So I looked, and it was a transaction from me to that wallet for 10 tokens. Those 10 tokens was the one that I sent him 3 nights ago to test the airdrop, right? And I'm like, wait, this is this guy's wallet, right? So I DM him and I'm like, hey bro, like, can you take a look at this? This looks weird. He replies back, this is legit his words. He said, I see truth. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, this is due to my fault. And obviously, paranoid 100, I was like, dude, what are you talking about? What are you saying? Like, what do you mean? He's like, this is because of me. I think my roommate has access to my keys or to your keys. And I'm like, that's impossible. At this moment, I still don't know it is the airdrop, right? I'm like, that's impossible, man. Like, how? Like, there's no way. He's like, I think he had access to my stuff. And he started to say things to make it look like a rug. He pretty much told me, you should unlock the liquidity pool. You should turn off the website, remove all my access to everything, delete everything from me. So if I shut off the website, which we did at the moment, if we shut off the website, and let's say I gave access, he also mentioned to burn the tokens. So if I did all of those things, it would legit look like a straight up rug. It's like we disappear from the earth. So it's like we're gone.
So let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just stop you right here, and we'll talk about this a little bit. At that point, how much value was in that transaction, the 3,400 mine that I'm assuming he set himself through that script that you had signed?
I believe the price of the token was at $7.
Like $7. So you're talking about a relatively small amount of money at that point, right? I mean,
yeah, it was, so 3,400 times 7. That was like the first one, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Um,
He gets that, and he's suggesting just to make the whole project look like a rug at that point.
Correct. So, he started like just saying things like delete my access, shut off the website, burn the tokens, unlock the liquidity pool. And I'm like, dude, what are you saying? I was like, how do we fix this? So at the time we didn't know. And then another transaction happened, and another one, and another one. And that's when the token went from $7 straight to 30 cents. Um,
And what
and
was the
then
total value of liquidity that he extracted by the end?
3,623 AVAX tokens. At the time, it was like $285,000.
So
So whatever. Mhm.
keep going with your story. Finish it out. How does it progress from there? What's your response to watching that?
So when that happened, so I reached out to Solidity Finance. And, at that point, I figured out it was the contract. Sorry, I skipped that. So when all those things started happening, I saw that it was the Treasury wallet that I used to send the airdrop 3 days ago. So obviously I was super pissed at him, and I told him a bunch of shit, but then I ignored him. I reached out to Solidity Finance, and I told them, can you please review this contract? It was the bot contract. And they're like, yes, they're using this airdrop contract to remove money. And Solidity Finance was transfer the money to another wallet. So as soon as they said that, I transfer all the money that was in my in the treasury, which it was in mine token and a few Avax. I transfer everything out to another wallet, and everything stopped. Here's where it gets weird. The main developer is gone, right? He magically appears. Hey, I just landed. And then he was like, "Oh my God, what's going on? Like, why you rugged? Like, what's going on? Why you stole the money?" I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm like, dude, like this was all Iceberg. Because if you see everything from the outside, it looks like it was me. Like it was, that I
Absolutely.
planned everything. Because it's my wallet. I sent a transaction to test it 2 days ago, 3 days ago. And then they're gone pretty much. They vanish. So it's just me. It's my face out there, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm talking with Solidity Finance. They confirm it was, and I asked them, what can I do? And they're pretty much, they just told me, hey, just transfer ownership of contract, blacklist wallets, transfer the money out of the account, and just take a breather, and let's just figure it out. Everything else. So at that moment, we blacklisted the bot wallets. I transfer ownership of the contract to a new wallet. We did all those things. Iceberg disappeared from the Discord. I pretty much I kicked out the main developer, blocked him, whatever. And then after that, I reached out to actually to one of your guys's at during the moment. Like I didn't know like who to reach out to, kind of like just help. I actually a few hours later, I reached out to Assure DeFi, to Word Chapel. So I usually talk to him quite often. I reached out to him, and he even asked me, he's like, dude, like, what's going on? And I'm like, man, I got screwed. Like, my developers had to do this. Either they know each other, or it was planned, or, they're the same people. Like, they had to do this. Because remember, I never saw the other one, right? I
Yeah.
never interviewed him.
And let's stop right here because this will
Go
become
ahead.
important too. So at this point, I can't remember, had you KYC'd with Assure? Had you KYC'd with
Oh,
anyone?
yes. Yes, sorry. Yes. I was KYC by Assure before the project launch.
But the other developers were not KYC'd, correct?
No, I did an announcement. So I talked to them. Sorry, I skipped that part. I spoke to them, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to pay Assure the fee to get you guys KYC. And they're like, okay, sure. Yes, we can do that. Like, what do they ask for? I'm like, well, scan of your face, your ID, and that's pretty much it. So I did the announcement that they were getting KYC. Next day, that's when everything happened.
So right away at that point was kind of what
Correct.
set it all off. Them knowing
Correct.
that you were going to want to know who they really were.
Correct. And I was KYC with Assure since like way before launch. They just were like holding it because I told them not to do anything until I actually launched the project. But I was like 2 weeks prior to launch. I was already KYC.
So who did you reach out with on our end? Who did you talk to? I wasn't in on those that evening. Who'd you talk
No,
to?
it was Crypto Sensei. I messaged him. It was kind of like a desperate situation at the moment.
Yeah,
And he was more like, "What do you want me to do? You know, what you want us to do?" And I'm like, "I don't know, man. Anything. Can you? One of your developers kind of just review?" I was at the moment. I was trying to find out why it was happening,
yeah,
right? So like,
absolutely, absolutely.
I didn't know. And
So how long
then
after all
mhm.
of this, when did you find out what exactly had happened?
It was after there was too much damage, unfortunately. It was the last transaction whenever I did that transfer. So I reached out to Solidity Finance, and I think they had to be aware of what was happening because they responded super quick. And I sent in the contract address for the bot, and they're like, "Yes, this is what's happening. So transfer the money out of there." And that's when I did it. But it was minutes.
Assuming, yeah, sorry. I'm assuming your contract was
Mhm.
audited prior to launch by Solidity, right?
Correct. The token. Yes. Yes.
Okay,
The
perfect.
main
Yeah,
company.
go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
So once they told me this, Solidity, we stopped it with the transfer. I reached out to Assure DeFi, and because I didn't have developers. There was nothing that I can do, right? I had no one. Um, so I reached out to Assure DeFi, and it was late at night already. It was late, and I'm like, bro, I need help. I need a developer. And he's like, okay, reach out to this guy. His name is Acro Year, his Telegram. He's from the company Big Graphics. So I reached out to him. I reached out to that developer, and I text him, hey, this happened. I explained the whole situation, and he didn't hesitate, man. He said, hey, let's schedule a call in like 30 minutes. He called me. We transfer. He helped me set up Genos safe. We moved all the money. We moved everything. Whatever we had, we moved and we secured it. We pretty much he kept asking me questions. He's like, "Did you remove access from the AWS, from the Git?" Pretty much everything. We went down the list, um, and we did all that. We took care of all those things, and they stayed with me in the project pretty much. Finding a solution. Then other developers came in from his team, and we started reviewing the contract, making sure there was no other wallets compromised, there was no other things. And there actually was one wallet, which was the testing one, when I sent him the 10 tokens. So that one also, if I send any big amount to there, he would also stole it. So good thing, nothing ever happened with that wallet.
Would have you had
Um,
any reason to send a large amount to that wallet?
the one that I use for the testing,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, yeah. So that wallet, actually, that wallet was the one that I used to set up the liquidity pool, but it was locked. So there
Gotcha.
was no more balances in there. So that's why he kept saying, like when you think of everything, he was saying, "Hey, unlock the liquidity pool, like unlock it." And it's pretty much because probably he just wanted access to that wallet to take the things. So yeah, so Chapo from Assure helped me out with the developer, and we've been working ever since. We figured everything out. We got the story right. Community started to help after. This was after, because at the moment, they wanted my head on the plate. But after, they started to help, um, and it was pretty crazy how they did everything. They or him, or I don't know. I don't know if it was both of them or if it was one of them, but my conclusion was that either they know each other or they're the same person. Um, but they use over 20 wallets, And out of those 20,
to pull out of or to take from your wallets into different wallets?
correct. So the one contract was doing the extraction from the wallet, and then everything else, when it did the sell, it was getting split through 20 different wallets.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what, like looking back at this whole situation, like what were some of the red flags that you saw as like the visionary person of the project? Like what did you see that you would definitely change moving forward? Like if you do another project in the future or even for this one, like what were the flags and then what are the steps that you've taken to get past those things?
Yeah, good question. So everything, man. So, being specific, right? So being specific, um, not to sound, like, some type of way, but from now on, I wouldn't hire a developer that I cannot see, or I know I can go to his house at any moment, or it's, someone local or at least in the States nearby or something, right? Not someone from overseas, right? Because it's harder to reach someone over there, right? I would definitely do that. I did one big mistake, and is that I tried to do everything myself, not the coding portion, but more like the administration portion. Um, as the founder, it's an LLC. I should have had a lawyer. I should have done paperwork through lawyers, like agreements and things. I should have KYC that person before starting anything in the project, right? Like making sure he's legit, he's real. Um, and basically asked for a lot of references, because when he gave me the references, I didn't double check. I just took his word. Like I looked at the project, I'm like, oh, that's nice, like that's a pretty cool project. But then when everything happened, I went back to those references and they were all fake.
So
Mhm.
let me ask you a question, man. And this is kind of like where I can talk a little bit about what we do at
Yep.
Kryptonators, and also, how kind of maybe reveal a lot of our research process that people don't have access to. I think a lot of our members even have no idea the actual work that we put in behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So when you were in contact with Sensei at some point, obviously you knew of Kryptonairz at that point because you messaged him during, kind of like, hey man, can you help me? Can you help me figure out what's going on, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I knew about him because he put a message on the, like in the partnership proposal channel that I have on the Discord for AMA kind of thing. Yeah.
Sure. Were you aware at that point of like Kryptonairz, like what we do, like what our processes are, or what are like our security team, our research team, or the fact that we even have those things?
No.
Yeah, and I think that's so many developers I think aren't aware of like what services there are available. So like as I look at your story, it's you were just acting like what a normal human being acts like when he's excited about a project and he's developing,
Correct.
and it's one
I
of those
agree.
things where it's easy to look back in hindsight and it's easy for people to criticize on the sidelines, but the fact is anyone that's worked on a project or anyone that's done something that they're excited about, you're so busy doing the work and there's so much work to do that a lot of times you aren't in an objective place where you can step back and say, whoa, 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 whoa. There are a ton of security risks, like blatant security risks right here, and you're not seeing them because you're too close to it, quite frankly. Like,
I agree. I
yeah,
agree.
you see that now. So
Correct.
if you could do it again, now like, okay, if you're going to have devs, it doesn't really do much good to have a founder doxed or KYC'd if the devs aren't doxed or KYC'd because they will have access to the smart contracts, right?
Correct.
Exactly. A Gnosis safe or a multisig can be absolutely essential as long as the founder has control of it and other people that he can trust. But like in your situation, let's say you had a multisig, but it was you and those two devs, they would still be able to rug the project, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. I would have been screwed. That would have been much worse.
Exactly. If you, and it's one of these things where what we do at Kryptonairz is we try to bring projects in before launch or as close to launch as possible. We have an entire team of researchers who go through painstaking all of these types of issues, right? We look at everything from the tokenomics to, who's developing the project, the team, the socials, everything. Then we have an extensive smart contract team that goes through all the contracts and makes sure that there's nothing written into the contract that can be harmful, that can pull the contract. We look to make sure that ownership of the contract is renounced or that there's a multi-sig. So, for instance, you had ownership of those contracts. If you had wanted to rug it yourself, you would have been able to do it, right?
I mean, I wouldn't do it, but yes, I get what you're saying.
I'm not accusing you,
No,
but I'm just
yeah,
talking
no,
about
yeah.
from
No, I
a
understand.
security standpoint. Do you see what I'm saying?
Technically, yes. Yes,
Yeah,
technically, yes.
technically, absolutely. And so
Yeah.
these are the things that we look at through every single project, right? We have an entire project form for our researchers that we have teams fill out. Then we have a project form that our coders looking through the smart contracts fill out. Then we run people through an extensive suite of anti-money laundering and basically anti-criminal activity things, which looks at everything from where the IPs are coming from, where in the world it's coming from, the country of origin, etc. We can then
It's
assist
critical.
people. Yeah, so we can then assist people. So like if I would have been talking to you, I would have been like, "Hey, bro, like you don't know these devs. What country are they from? Like let's say they take your stuff. How are you going to get to them? Like what legal processes would you pursue?" And these are the kinds of questions that we can help projects to kind of handle that a lot of times the developers or the founders aren't thinking about because they're so close to the project, you know?
I agree. I agree with all of it.
Yeah.
When you look back into it, I was like, damn, I could have prevented all of this, all of it. But like you said, you're so close to the project, you're so focused on, oh, well, let's do this feature. Can we add this? Can we do this? That you don't really look at the security side of things. And then it's
Right.
too late.
And one thing I did like about what you did through all of this process is you stayed in constant communication with the Discord through the entire thing. Like you were putting out announcements daily and updates and all that stuff, keeping everybody in the loop and all of that stuff. So and because I was one of the investors, like I was following what was going on and all of that stuff. So I think that also goes a long ways for you yourself.
No, I mean, I appreciate it. And I mean, the day that everything happened, I honestly didn't see what was going on the main channel. It was all the mods like trying to keep the peace.
Right.
And, it's like I kept telling everyone I have nothing to hide. I got screwed as much as everyone else. Like, I was more disappointed at myself because it could have been prevented. But I only knew this after the fact. After I sat down with the other developers, we started reviewing everything. And from like, as soon as we started reviewing everything, it's like, dude, there's so many security risks. Like, it was meant to happen. If it didn't happen now, it was going to happen, I don't know, a few months later. It was just meant to be. And it could have been all prevented. But, like I said, at the moment, you're not really thinking of all of that.
Right.
So let me ask you a question, man.
But
Assuming because you bankrolled this whole entire project out of your own wallet.
everything.
How
Everything.
much money did you lose, man? How much are you down just from getting rugged hard like that?
Well, if we count everything, right? So I paid them hourly. I paid them as they finished their work. I gave them bonuses. I never paid them late. They always got paid like, they finished the work, they got paid. From the moment I started the LLC, right? So going back to June 2021, from the moment I started to the LLC all the way to funding the liquidity pool, I've put in about close to 70,000.
So let me
All
ask
out
you
of
a
pocket.
question. Yeah, going back to when specifically it looks like they decided to rug the project was when they realized that you were going to make them KYC, right?
Correct. Literally the day, it was the day after. So I told them do the KYC. So I can, I can do the announcement and people feel more comfortable because people were asking questions about the audit, right? So we had a lot of access to the contract. So I tell them, hey, I want people to feel comfortable that if we have access, at least there's a way they can catch us if something were to happen. So I talked to our Chapo and I told him like, hey man, did my guy submitted the KYC? And he said they started it, but they stopped. And I'm like, okay. So I went back to the chat. I was like, hey guys, what are we waiting on to do the KYC? And they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna get to it. We're just fixing some things. And they never did it throughout the night. And the next day, you know, that thing happened.
So let me ask you a question just out of curiosity, and I don't want you to drop any like too private information, but did you know what country these guys were out of?
So I don't believe it. Whatever they have on the profile, I legit don't believe anything now. So the person that I met, I don't think it was him. But so one of them, according to them, one lived in California but moved to Japan, and the other one was from China but moved to Hong Kong.
Okay. So literally, this is a case where the guys that did all the coding for the project and worked with you for so long, uh, you really had essentially just no idea who they really were. No way to verify like their actual identity.
Correct. Well, yes, that is true.
So
It's just like,
I think something, and this is for all of our listeners right now, anybody that's gonna hear this recording, like as we listen to this story, and this is why I wanted to bring you on, man, is I don't think we get to talk about these types of things enough in DeFi. And you know, it's horrible that you got to take this L and all the people that invested, you know, I know Scott was invested with you guys. I know a lot of people that were like we have to learn from these things and we have to together come together to make DeFi a better space. That's the only way that we can get better and go forward. And you know, I think we all want to live in DeFi someday where this kind of thing is a rarity instead of the norm, you know?
Absolutely.
yeah, and you know, for everyone, I know a lot of people has been asking, right? To like, so I did like, you know, FBI reports and things like that, right? So I submitted like IC3 complaints. Um, but I have every single detail of where, you know, how the money moved, where did it go, what exchange it went. It's just I cannot release the details yet until the
No,
legal side is
absolutely.
done.
And that's something that people need to understand as well, guys. And we've explained it like we did an AMA with El Chapo from, you know, Assure. And for those of us that are familiar with the legal process, um, like when someone rugs, that information is not going to be publicly available for a while, guys. That'll be available to law enforcement through legal process, and law enforcement will handle it. But you know,
Yeah,
you can't reveal those people's information because if you do, and then someone does some type of vigilante justice or something, you're going to be legally liable for that. And also, no matter what amount of money it is, I think we can all agree it's not worth somebody getting killed over or something like that. So it just wouldn't be a morally right thing to do. You know, there's not going to be an easy, quick solution for it. When it comes to rug pulls like these, the measures we have to take are preventative measures, right? They're things we
correct.
can do in advance to try to keep these things from happening. So like from this story, what we can learn is like any founder, like let's say you're a founder like Joma, right? And you have great ideas and you have something that you want to do and you want to create, but you're hiring devs. You have to KYC your devs before you work with them. If you don't KYC them, they can rug you. Just like you would be able to rug the project, they will also have access to the smart contracts. Um,
So to
but
your point though, KYC is a good measure, but it does not prevent being rugged, right?
absolutely. That's
So
another thing
so like
people need to understand.
it just makes you think of it. It's like, should I do it or not? Because they have my identity, right? So it does not prevent it, but
Right.
it is a good first, you know, layer of security.
The other thing that people need to understand is the basically the observation that you already made, which is that if let's say your developer is in, I don't know, Jakarta and you are in California, if the person in Jakarta rugs you, the odds of you ever being able to do anything about it, contacting law enforcement over there and having someone in there be interested in it and take the case to any type of completion, and the odds of actually recovering any type of funds, guys, that's just not going to happen, right? That is not realistic in the world that we live in. So there's another one, like devs, when the devs don't live in a country where a legal or civil process can be served quickly and efficiently, you know.
Yeah,
What other things? Go ahead.
I highly suggest, to add to your point, that's why I said earlier to try to stay as local as possible. So like if you're
Absolutely.
from the States, try to find someone within your region, right? Try to find developers from that area because if something happens, it will be easy to access. Um,
Also, one recommendation I would make along with that is, and we've seen some companies do it recently, there are companies that hire out Solidity devs. There are companies that will hire out people to build your project, and you can actually essentially hire the services of these people from an actual corporation, an actual LLC in the United States, in the UK, etc. The safety of doing something like that instead of just hiring a guy from a chat room is off the chart, right? If a company gives you a dev and the dev runs the project, you can sue the company. The funds can be recovered. They're an actual company in a nation that's going to have civil laws that are going to allow you to recover that. So that's another thing to think about for any aspiring devs in here or people who are putting together projects. Be very careful. It's kind of like when you ask for help in a Discord chat room and you're going to get spammed by people trying to scam you, right?
yeah,
If you ask for a dev in a Discord chat room, you may get some really great talent, but you will also likely be spammed by people looking for a possible chance to rogue your project. These are just lessons we can learn from this. What other things would you say looking back, like, man, I wish I would have done that differently?
um, well, obviously the try to hire someone as close as possible. And now that I look at everything back and, as I'm going through the process, if you're trying to start out a project, just make it a business and hire a lawyer and just integrate your lawyers for everything. Just, at least for the people that are going to have so much access to the sensitive data, right? Like all these people that have this access, your developers, founders, people that work with the money, all of them need to be KYC and have some type of agreement in place. And like I said, just try to stay as close as possible so that way you can reach them if something happens.
100%. And one thing that I'll put out there again to you and everybody else that knows someone who's creating a project, feel free to bring them in to the Kryptonairz research process. Right, a lot of this stuff we will do for you for free because we only want to bring good projects to our community. You guys have no idea how much work we do to try to keep bad projects out. I'll put out there we fail far more projects from our research process than we ever bring into the community. So if you know a project that's up and coming, bring them in early, guys. Let us take a look at them. At least it'll provide a deterrent because once they have to fill out our form and we start grilling them with questions, they have to talk to our smart contract people. They have to talk to our anti-money laundering people. It's definitely going to make anyone think twice, and it'll be really easy for us. We do this all day, every day, to notice the type of things that maybe a dev isn't going to notice because they're too close.
Correct. I agree. And just to put it out there, right? So the developer that was recommended by Assure, I just met him today in person actually. So we had lunch. He flew over to my area, and we had lunch, and we met face to face.
Nice.
So yeah, so it was pretty nice. So these
So, yeah.
people are legit. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead and talk about now. Okay, so we've gotten through like basically the rug and all that. We've gotten through the pain part of it. What are you going to try to do to take the project forward in the future? Give us your thoughts. You've met the dev now face to face. You have a good dev recommended by Assure. I'm sure that person is KYC'd or doxed as well. What are you gonna do in the future? Is there any way to make previous holders right? Is there any way, what's your plans, man?
So as far as for future, right? So I created something in the Discord. I created a role called early adopters, right? Because a lot of the people that invested, when the rug happened, they pretty much left. So yes, they're still holders, but they're not really in the community anymore. So instead of doing a snapshot, I decided to do a role, and people verified, and they're there now. They have their specific role as an early adopter when we first launched. And like I told them, I don't know what type of rewards I will give them or how I will thank them in the future, but I will come up with something. For the short term, in order to fix this whole mess, because the thing that hurt the most was that he didn't steal from our accounts, right? So he didn't take the AVAX from our accounts. He took the AVAX from the liquidity pool. So doing this, and injecting a lot of mine into the liquidity pool and no AVAX to back it up, there's a lot in there's a lot more mine in circulation than there is AVAX to back it up. So that's why the price is so low. So I came up with an idea. I actually call it the Iceberg smart contract. So the Iceberg function. So it's honestly, I'm not even kidding. It was the only name in my mind when I was doing this. I didn't do it for any like promo or anything. It was just the only name that I could think of at the moment. So basically, holders will lock up their tokens. There is no benefit of rewards, or compensate those holders. It's more about keeping the project alive. If these holders do not lock up their tokens, the project could, there's no chance it will survive if we just open trading. So once these holders lock up their tokens, it will be given to them on a monthly basis. And it's not like we're holding them forever. So on a monthly basis, so instead of you having access to 100% of your token, you'll have access to a 75% or a 10%, depending on your scale, right? Depending on your tier. And we'll give it to you monthly, slowly, so that way we can control the sell pressure. And if the price changes drastic when we first launch. Doing this, the Iceberg contract is gonna lock, estimated it's 165,115 tokens before we open trading. So there's currently 357 in circulation. So after we do all of this, there's going to be 192 in circulation. And then what we're going to do is we adjusted some fees, right? So when users sell, there's a 30% fee that's going to remove mine from the liquidity pool back to our accounts. Basically, we're just, the goal is to remove mine from supply. And then we adjusted the percentage of the smart contract. Well, we will, because we're creating the V2 of the nodes. We're going to adjust the percentage of the smart contract when a user created nodes as to what happens with those tokens. So, and like I said, the mission is just to remove all the mine possible that that we can out of the liquidity pool, out of circulation, so we can try to stable things out again and be back where we were. And like I mentioned, we also created a node V2. We did not create a new token contract; it wasn't needed. But the node contract that we had, I didn't have ownership on it, and there was no transfer of ownership function that I could perform. So we created a V2, and it's going to have all those things in it. So we made a few adjustments. It has a few tweaks, but pretty much it's the same. That's about it. I mean, that's where we at right now.
And so essentially, if you can get enough of the current holders of Mind to basically lock up their tokens, to remove enough of it from circulation that you can add enough liquidity in, you could basically kickstart the project. And basically, it's kind of up to the users from there, right? It's kind of up to them whether everything can get back to where it used to be.
Well, I think with everything that we have in place, right? So the Iceberg contract, adjusting the fees and adjusting the percentage of the smart contract to remove mine from supply, the price is going to open where it's at. So once we relaunch, I honestly 100%, well, not 100%, but I honestly think the plan will work. So what we have written it wasn't just, oh, let's just do this. We legit analyze a lot of data. Like we pull transactions from Snow Trace, the people who bought before the dip and after the dip, and how much they bought, at what time they bought, how many tokens they have, at what price they did. Did they sell at a loss? Did they sold at a gains? Like we did so much homework, and that was all up to my to Alex. Aloha, I think he's here tonight. Like he pulled this master spreadsheet with all these numbers, and everything that we did was based on that. And we were running calculations as to how price is going to look, and we don't think it's going to stay that low for so long. With everything in place, obviously we have a bigger community now. When I first started, there was only like 20 people in my Discord. There's about 1,200 now, and I haven't done really a lot of marketing other than the day that the rug happened. I think, yeah, there is a chance. There is a chance.
Do you think that you will ramp up marketing once everything is launched?
Once it's stable.
Yeah.
I like to focus on stability and development of our marketing and bringing users. I think there's a time for that, right? A lot of these, not to criticize anyone, but a lot of the projects focus on marketing first and making a lot of money, and then they like to deal with their problems. I like to deal with my problems with the project first, with the development, making sure the token is stable, everything's running smooth. And heavy marketing will start once I have at least 2 to 3 products ready to go.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
yeah,
I think a lot of people can appreciate that though too. Like you're thinking long-term stability instead of just short-term gains and stuff like that. So
no, correct. Yes. I tell this to the community all the time. Everything that I do, I build backwards, right? So I always think 5, 10 years ahead. I don't build for trends. I don't build just to, oh, let's just do this because it sounds cool, or let's do this collaboration because it's cool. No, I don't do none of that. It needs to make sense. It needs to benefit the users. It needs to benefit the company, and it just needs to make sense. If it doesn't make sense, I don't do it.
Well, look, man, I can say this, and this is I guess the way I feel about it right now. I really appreciate you taking the time to come out and just talk to people about the experience, I think that's something that just is invaluable to hear what it's like from inside the development team of where this happens, and to kind of be able to go back and look at it, armchair quarterback it, you know. Um, I really hope that everything goes well for you in the future, man. I can only imagine what that felt like. Me and Scott were talking about it before you came in, but I can't imagine what you felt like sitting there that night and just watching them suck the liquidity out of the pool and not understanding what's going on. That had to feel awful, man.
Yeah. It's like you prepare for everything, but you don't prepare for someone from the inside to betray you and do something like that.
Absolutely.
So when it happened, it was like you didn't, I didn't think it was them. Even after the fact, I was kind of like in denial. I was like, there's no way, we've been working at this so many hours for so long. Why? It didn't make sense. I paid them, I gave them bonuses when we launched, like I took care of them, right? And then all of this happened. But, I accepted it, I accept the fault, it's on me. And, we adjusted, we created a plan, and we're going to execute it. So everything so far is looking good, besides everything that happened. And we have a really nice team, honestly. The new devs are amazing. And, they're not kids, just to no offense, but they got skin in the game. So it's pretty cool that El Chapo recommended them, and I'm grateful for that.
that's awesome.
Yeah, that
so
is.
All of them are from his recommendation?
Yes.
Gotcha.
So it was basically he put me in contact with Acro Year, and he owns a company named Big Graphics. If you go to the website, it's mainly like merchandise, but it's because he hasn't updated it. But basically, they're a group of developers, and they know each other. They're Philly Dukes. They just known each other for years. And the main developer that is helping us with the smart contracts has been coding for 30 plus years. And the team has been doing it for years. Like I said, they're close friends with El Chapo, and yeah, man, they're pretty amazing people. And everything's been moving slower than I wanted to, because it's a new team. We're kind of like getting used to each other. How I work, how they work. They're family people, so it's not like they're gonna be here 24/7. So they'll work and they'll be like, okay, family time. So everything moves a little bit slower, but we're making progress. Hopefully, I'm being hopeful for this weekend to be back up and running. So
That's awesome. So this weekend that's when you're shooting for?
Mm-hmm. Monday the latest. I just got the smart contract audit for the Iceberg contract today. We're gonna try to implement that tomorrow with the website. We'll run a few tests before just to make sure it's working as expected. But everything in the audit came fine. And the node V2 should be ready by Saturday, the latest. But that's easy to just implement though.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming by, man. We appreciate hearing your side of it. And like I said, I think this was an invaluable experience for us all to learn from. Now you can educate young founders coming up. You'll be in this space and you'll be able to share that experience with people in our audience, and us here at Kryptonairz. We can keep doing what we're doing to bring projects into our process, make sure they're vetted, make sure they're safe. Make sure somebody's looked at all of these securities and smart contract issues. And yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, man. I really hope that it works out for you. Anything else you want to say to the people before we log off for the night?
Sure. I appreciate everyone listening. I know it's not like a nice story, right, of a pumping project and anything, but just thank you everyone that supported, the community that stayed behind. I appreciate it, and the team that stayed, and everyone that at first they doubted, but then they understood and took the time to research what really happened. So I really appreciate that. A lot of people, those positive messages on the DMs actually helped get through on the first few days, right? So I appreciate everyone that supported, and I appreciate you guys bringing me here and giving me the opportunity to kind of clear the name of the company and myself, right? Like it wasn't a rug, like we all got rugged by the devs, right? So I appreciate it, man. Honestly.
You're very welcome,
Absolutely.
man. You're very welcome. And also, just so everybody knows, he didn't get in here for free either. He had to go through the same process that everybody else goes to get to come talk to you guys. So,
correct.
All right, Scott, any other question you've got for the man before we take off?
No, I think everything's been covered pretty well. So,
all right. Well, gentlemen, thank you too for joining me tonight. Thanks everybody for coming out and listening, and best of luck for in the future, Jomo. We'll definitely be watching what happens with your project. Good luck next week, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Awesome.
Yep. Everybody have a good night.
All right, good night.